Hi, my name is Megan, and this is Everything Lit. And today I am bringing you a book haul, and it is large. So the last book haul, I think I just posted it in October. This one's gonna go up in December, but that last book haul I filmed end of August. So these books that I have right here are all the books that I have gotten since like September. And these are in no particular order. We're just gonna rapid fire this. So I have The Stonewall Riots by Gail E. Pittman. And this is a nonfiction. I think it is aimed at middle grade / young adult history about the Stonewall Riots and kind of explaining why they happened, how they happened, what they are, what they mean. It's a slim book, but I am writing time travel boy band and they accidentally go back to the Stonewall Riots. So I want a little more history, a little more grounding in the moment so that I can write that scene better. I have Dreaming Dangerous by Lauren DeStefano. Lauren DeStefano is one of my favorite authors. This is a middle grade, and this is about a school for orphans who have strange and wonderful gifts, and we follow a girl named Plum who can venture into her dreams alongside some of her friends. I have It's a Fabulous Life by Kelly Farmer. This is a female retelling of It's a Wonderful Life. And that's all I needed to know. I picked up Bedazzled by Ryan LaSala. This is his second book that he published. I think it's probably coming out in paperback soon, but I didn't want to wait because I have like almost all of his other books in hardcover. This is about a drag competition, I'm pretty sure. Oh, it's a cosplay competition, which is even better. Make it nerdy, put some glitter on it. It says Bedazzled is an epic queer love story about creativity, passion, and finding the courage to be your most authentic self. I have Home for Christmas by Courtney Cole. This is about a girl whose gran died 2 weeks before Christmas. It was her last family, and she has to decide if she wants to sell the old house that her great-great-grandpa built or stay and like work at the family business. I think there's time travel in this. Piper finds herself caught in a blizzard and wakes up in the original home that her ancestors built in 1945. Okay, that's probably why I bought it. This is like rediscovery for me. I have Feather and Flame by Livia Blackburn. And this is part of the Queen's Council series by Disney. They're publishing kind of what happened after their Disney story when they become queens. So she's going to become empress somehow. And the first one is Rebel Rose, and the next one just came out, and that is Realm of Wonders. I want to get all of them, but I'm waiting for the paperbacks. So this is about Mulan. I have A Holly Jolly Ever After by Julie Murphy and Sierra Simone. This is the companion / sequel to, don't remember what it's called, I'll put it on the screen real quick. But this is set in a little Christmas town called Christmas Notch, where this version's Hallmark channel sets a lot of their movies. So this is about, I think, a boy band member, an ex-boy band member, and he is going to star in a sexy Santa biopic for the Hope Channel. But then on set, he falls in love with someone named Winnie, and these are both characters that we know about from the first one. I picked up The Hexologists by Josiah Bencroft. This is a fantasy that follows two people who help others deal with hexes and charms and curses, and then they get roped into some larger plot. Can you tell that when I buy these, I go off of vibes? I bought Faking Christmas by Carrie Winfrey. I love Carrie Winfrey. That is one of the main reasons I bought this. And so we have a social media manager who's trying not to get fired, and she must work with Gilbert, who has recently been dumped by his wife, to create this farm's huge like Christmas Eve dinner. So they have to pretend to own the farm for one dinner. So we've got fake dating, we've got putting on a dinner, we've got saving her job. I trust Carrie Winfrey in everything. And it's pretty short. It's only, well, I guess it's like 260 pages. I have House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. This is the second in the Crescent City series. I have no idea what this one's about. The first one involves a murder, but also fae and maybe angels and demons. I have A Strange and Stubborn Endurance by Foz Meadows. This is a fantasy. It is a queer romance What got me is this last paragraph. Byzantine politics, lush sexual energy, and a queer love story that is by turns sweet and sultry. Foz Meadows' A Strange and Stubborn Endurance is an exploration of gender, identity, and self-worth. It is a book that will live in your heart long after you turn the last page. They got me. One of our main characters, Valasin, is engaged to the princess of this other country, and then an ugly confrontation reveals his preference for men. The other country is like, fine, you can marry her brother, the prince. And now the prince is like, oh my gosh, now I'm suddenly betrothed to who was supposed to be my sister's husband, and now he's gonna be mine. What the heck? The drama. I have Bad Girls Never Say Die by Jennifer Mathau. This is the author of Moxie. This takes place in 1960s Texas, and I literally have no idea what it's about. I saw the title, I saw the cover, I saw the author, and I clicked pre-order. Actually, I'm sure I read it at the time and decided it was worth it, but now I don't remember, so let's figure it out. 1964, Houston, Texas. Evie Barnes is a bad girl. So are all her friends. They're the sort who wear bold makeup, laugh too loud, and run around with boys. Most of all, they protect their own against the world. So when Evie is saved from a sinister encounter by a good girl from the right side of the tracks, every rule she's always lived by is called into question. Now she must redefine what it means to be a bad girl and rethink everything she knew about loyalty. In this riveting story of murder, secrets, and tragedy, Jennifer Mathau puts a female twist on S.E. Hinton's The Outsiders. Bad Girls Never Say Die has all the drama and heartache of that teen classic, but with a feminist take just right for our times. Okay. I have A December to Remember by Jenny Bayliss. I read one of Jenny Bayliсс's books last Christmas, and it was fantastic, and now I have bought all of her books. This is about two sisters. They're half sisters. So there are three women who are called back to their family home to jump through hoops for an inheritance, and there are small town vibes. It sounds kind of sad, actually, so we'll see. I have Anna Dressed in Blood by Kendar Blake. This is about a ghost and a boy who can see ghosts. He's trying to find her. It says a haunting romance. I bought Agatha Christie's Halloween Party after I saw A Haunting in Venice. This is obviously classic Poirot mystery where he is at a Halloween party and weird stuff starts happening. Is it ghosts or is it someone playing tricks? I don't know. I mean, I do because I saw the movie, but I haven't read the book. I have Amari and the Great Game. This is a middle grade book, and it is the sequel to Amari and the Night Brothers. This is by B.B. Alston, and the first book is about Amari, and her brother goes missing, and she searches around in his room to try and figure out why he's been missing. Where did he go? And she finds this mysterious case, and she gets pulled into this world of like magic and this secret school for training people to deal with magic, and it's a wild ride. I remember it was really fun. I don't remember much of it, and this is the sequel. I bought More Than You'll Ever Know by Kate Gutierrez. So this is a dual timeline story, I believe. One takes place in 1985, Mexico City, a woman who has two families. There's a murder, okay? And then in 2017, there's a true crime writer who is writing about the murder of this husband. I have Lavender House by Lev A.C. Rawson. This is a detective. This is a queer story set in 1952. And I think it's a found family. There is a queer family that lives honestly and openly in this lavender house, and this detective is trying to save them, but also solve a murder. This is one of the books I'm currently reading right now. My bookmark is in there. Very pretty. Fits the vibes, am I right? This is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. This is about Emily Wilde, who travels to a Nordic village to study the folklore of their fairies and their fae and try and find the hidden ones or the tall ones and, you know, create her encyclopedia because that's her goal. And then one of her co-workers, one of her colleagues from Cambridge shows up to hang out with her. His name is Bambleby. He shows up to help her out and they go on some adventures involving fairies. I'm a little over halfway through and I'm really liking it. Another book that I'm in the middle of reading, Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. It doesn't deserve that kind of excitement. Most of the way through, and I have a bookmark with Kaiba on it because dragons. So the first book in this series is Fourth Wing, and it is about a war college and dragon riding and training to become a dragon rider. And there are a lot of secrets. We follow our main character Violet. She is the daughter of the general, so she's got enemies going into it already. And then she also has a joint disorder, and you know, the first one was knockdown, amazing, came at the right time, I think, and I couldn't stop listening to it. This one, not so much. I'm like most of the way through it and I just want to finish it, and not for good reasons. I've got two cozies. We have Ashes to Ashes, Crust to Crust by Mindy Quigley. This is a cozy mystery, second in a series. First one being 6 Feet Deep Dish, and this follows a woman who has opened a pizzeria in small town Wisconsin, and she solves murders. And then I have Al Dente's Inferno by Stephanie Cole. This is set in Tuscany. Our main character Nell is going to transform an aging villa into a farm-to-table culinary school. So she's trying to establish a culinary school. Someone gets murdered and she has to help figure it out. I have The Crimson Fortress by Akshaya Raman. This is the sequel to The Ivory Key. I'm going to have to read a recap of what that was about because I remember enjoying it. It's an adventure fantasy YA about 4 people, the princess and the prince, siblings, and their friends, and they have to go on an adventure to find this key. I don't remember why. This is the sequel. I have What the River Knows by Isabella Banez. This sounds amazing. It is YA. I think it's kind of fantasy-esque, but it says it's the mummy meets Death on the Nile. So we've got a murder, and our main character is trying to figure out how her parents died. I think they were archaeologists, and so she goes on an adventure to figure out what happened. I have The Villa by Rachel Hawkins. This is a thriller about 2 best friends who go on vacation to this villa, but this villa has a history. So I think we have multiple timelines. We have a 1974 rock and roll legend who rents the villa for the summer, and I think something crazy happens that weekend, and the 2 girls are trying to figure out like what happened that weekend. And I think they're both writers, so I think it's kind of inspiring their stories. I have Hunt on Dark Waters by Katie Robert. This involves a pirate captain and a witch and maybe an ex who is a vampire. It sounds bananas. It sounds off the walls. I cannot wait to read it, and look at that stunning cover. We love Katie Robert. So this is a romance. I might call it an erotic romance. This says fantasy romance, but it's probably steamy as heck because, again, it's Katie Robert. I have Iris Kelly Doesn't Date by Ashley Herring Blake. I'm so excited to read this. This is the 3rd in a romance connected trilogy. And okay, not to be weird, but I feel like this one has been printed more cheaply, and I think that's very rude of Berkeley to do. I don't know why they did that. The cover feels different. The book is like thinner, tighter. It doesn't match the other ones perfectly, but whatever. So this involves fake dating. Our main character, Iris Kelly, is the friend of the other 2 girls in the corresponding books, and she is the last one who has not been coupled up. She apparently has a terrible one-night stand, but then the other girl asks her to fake date. I don't know. It's got theater, it's got queer women, and I am excited to read it. I bought Fat Witch Summer by Lizzie Ives. This is, I think it's YA. We have a plus-size heroine. So in this world, witches will receive one of 3 gifts: glamour, growth, or sight, and then their mothers choose which gift they get. So this troop of girls decides to go and steal their gifts instead, so their moms don't choose. I bought Keep It Real by Lee Gutkind, and this is a nonfiction book about writing creative nonfiction and what does it say? Everything you need to know about researching and writing creative nonfiction. So I think it's going to go through the different types of creative nonfiction and memoirs and narrative nonfiction, as it's called. I picked this up because that's something I want to explore more. I bought The Gentleman's Guide to Getting Lucky by Mackenzie Lee. This is a novella about the two characters from The Gentleman's Guide to Vices and Virtues. It's really just about their first time as a couple. I picked up another cozy mystery called Bored to Death by C.J. Connor. This involves a queer man opening a board game shop. It's called like a quozy, a queer cozy, and something happens and he has to help solve the murder. You know, it's a cozy mystery with a board game shop. I picked up Lilith by Nikki Marmory, and this is about Lilith. If you know your Bible stuff, you probably know more than me, but Lilith supposedly was in the garden with Adam prior to Eve, and then she gets seduced and is banished and is like the supposedly birthed demons. And so interested to read this, what do they call it? Triumphantly feminist retelling of ancient creation myths in the tradition of Madeline Miller and Claire North. I picked up Never Whistle at Night, edited by Shane Hawk and Theodore C. Van Alst Jr. This is a collection of short stories by different authors. It says it is an indigenous dark fiction anthology. So these are dark fiction fantasy stories by indigenous authors, and it sounds really wonderful. One of my friends from grad school has a story published in here, so very happy for him, and I bought it. I picked up Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. This is a romance about two famous socialites in London, and they're on and off relationship, and they like sleep with other people and try to get back at each other. It sounds messy, sounds toxic, sounds like drama that I would be interested in reading about. I picked up Untamed Shore by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. This is part of my trying to collect her backlist. This takes place in 1979. People compare it to Patricia Highsmith in terms of con artists. Okay, so it says, when a wealthy American writer arrives with his wife and brother-in-law, our main character, Viridania, jumps at the offer of a job as the writer's assistant, and she's soon entangled in the glamorous foreigners' lives. When one of the visitors dies, Virginia, eager to protect the other two, lies, but someone's asking questions, and she has questions of her own. She gets tangled up in this mystery, so it sounds kind of like a murder mystery. I have Hester by Lori Lico Albanese. This is historical fiction, takes place in the 1800s in Salem, Massachusetts, and this is about the woman who inspired the Scarlet Letter. Nathaniel Hawthorne meets her, they're drawn to each other. As her husband seems gone for good, she and Nathaniel grow closer. I picked up Love on the Brain by Allie Hazelwood. My first Allie Hazelwood. I hope it's good. I hope I like it. This is a romance about a girl in STEM finding a tree to climb, aka a very tall man. That's what I've heard, at least, that all the heroes are trees and the heroine is just a little tiny girl who wants to climb them. I believe that this is about our main character, B, who wants to get a job at NASA, but now she's leading a team with someone who she worked with in college that they don't get along, enemies to lovers. I picked up Sherlock Holmes and Count Dracula by Christian Claver. This is a Sherlock Holmes story where he fights Dracula. Actually, Count Dracula arrives at Baker Street seeking Sherlock's help, for his beloved wife Mina has been kidnapped. So Dracula is getting Sherlock Holmes involved in the whole Dracula storyline because, as I know, because I read Dracula this year, Mina's not his wife. She's Jonathan Harker's. So I'm interested to see how this author deals with Holmes and Dracula, and maybe them being on the same team, on the same side. I have Wreck the Halls by Tessa Bailey. I know, I'm gonna stop buying Tessa Bailey books eventually, but this sounds just absolutely madcap, right? This is about a woman whose mother was like a rock star in this band that broke up, and now she's trying to get the band back together to help her mom with this like reunion documentary, and the son of one of the other band people is like gonna help her. I have New Adult by Timothy Janowski. So this is about our main character, Nolan. He wants to have it all by the time he's 30, gets his dream set, and stands up his boyfriend, misses his sister's wedding, and disappoints his entire family by like missing out on stuff. And he wishes to skip to the good part of life on a set of magical healing crystals. And when he wakes up, it is 7 years later and he has everything he always wanted except his family and friends. So he's kind of figuring out how he got to this point and like, I guess what the true things he wants out of life are. It sounds magical and fun. I really liked the other book I read by this author. So one of the books I was most excited for this year is Cleat Cute by Meryl Wilsner. I have loved the 2 other books I read by this author. This involves soccer lesbians. So one of the girls is injured and mentoring the other girl because she's slightly older. So she gets injured, mentoring the other girl. And then when they go back to their team, they're now rivals because they're on opposite teams, man. And that sounds tense and I cannot wait. Now I have a group of witchy spooky books that I didn't get to that kind of sat on their own before I hauled them. So I have The Unfortunate Side Effects of Heartbreak and Magic by Brianne Randall. This is about a woman who believes that the curse of 4 heartbreaks that accompanies her magic would be worth the price, but actually her like grandmother is diagnosed with cancer and she has to go back to her hometown and deal with her first boyfriend as well and the drama there. Sounds sad. Sounds like it's probably going to be good. People are saying it is for fans of Practical Magic and Gilmore Girls, both of which I love. I have This Spells Disaster by Tori Ann Martin. I actually may have hauled this already. Maybe I didn't, I don't know. But this is a queer romance. 2 women, one accidentally gives a love spell to love potion to the other, and then they fake date, but actually one woman is under a spell. So it sounds interesting. Sounds like it could be sketchy. I've heard not great things. I'm really worried that I bought this without reading it first. I have Witches Get Stuff Done by Molly Harper. This is about a woman who comes back to her hometown and her magic bubbles up and she has a ghost butler to help her restore her late aunt's house, I believe. Then there is a man who wants something to do with the house, maybe to buy it, maybe to help her refurbish it. I don't know. And then they fall in love. It's a romance. What can I say? I have Eden's Everdark by Karen Strong. This is a middle grade story about a girl named Eden who stumbles across her mother's old sketchbook, and then when she is exploring the island that she's moved to alone, she kind of stumbles into a parallel world that may be like the sketches her mother drew. I have Hex Education by Maureen Kilmer. This is about 3 women who are like suburban moms. I believe this is just general fiction, slight like light fantasy. This is about 3 suburban moms who in college accidentally set fire and burned down their dorm because they did a spell. And now something is happening and they're gonna have to use their magic to save everything they love. People are calling it kind of a thriller. I have House of Hunger by Alexis Henderson. This is a vampire story where this girl becomes a blood maid to the countess nearby and is swept into a world of debauchery, and I don't know if she lives, she dies, turns into a vampire, I don't know. I have The Fell of Dark by Caleb Roehrig. This is a YA vampire story, yes, and the main character August lives in a vampire town, so they know about vampires. It's located at the nexus of a mystical energy field. Something goes wrong and August has to work with a new vampire boy to try and fix the town, help keep things going. I have Woman Eating by Claire Coda. This is another vampire story about a woman trying to break away from her mother. She is a vampire, but I believe she's trying to go to college or live amongst humans and deal with her hunger. This is more of a literary fiction take on vampires. And then I have Enchanted to Meet You by Meg Cabot, and this is about a witch who was cast out of her town, but now 15 years later someone shows up and says, actually, you are the person who is going to save our town and we need you to come back. So she's learning how to use her powers brand new, and one of the guys from back then is now taking interest in her, and it is a romance. I have Little Eve by Catriona Ward. This is part of her backlist. This takes place in the 1920s in Scotland, and I don't really know what this is about. There is a castle, there is kind of a culty element, and people are doing anything to become a distinction, to get a distinction, and then there is a murder, and their sacred ceremony goes terribly wrong. I have Aristotle and Dante Dive into the Waters of the World by Benjamin Alire Sands. This is the sequel to Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. That I read that a very long time ago. I don't know if I will reread it, but I might read a summary of it. And this is just a continuation of their story. It's about two boys who fell in love in the desert, and now how their life goes on while they're in this relationship. Because the first one was about them getting together, dealing with, bullying and their families. And this one's gonna follow along. I don't really know what happens, but it's about joy and living your life despite having to fight for it. I have Hotel Magnifique by Emily J. Taylor. This is about a hotel that transports around, and these two sisters sneak into the hotel and get jobs there and kind of follow it on its adventures. I have The Witch and the Tsar by Olesya Salonikova Gilmore, and this is a story about Baba Yaga, a half goddess. Yaga is living on her own because prior entanglements with mortals have led to heartbreak, and then she travels to Moscow to witness Tsar Ivan, soon to become Ivan the Terrible, grow more volatile and tyrannical by the day. So it's about a witch, Baba Yaga, and the Tsar, and I don't know what happens. It just says a rich tapestry of mythology and Russian history. So I'm thinking it's giving The Bear and the Nightingale vibes, but a little more historical, a little less magical. Though that was pretty historical by the third book. I have Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Maher. This is about a woman who gets a job as an assistant to a villain, but it's also a fantasy romance. It's about her daily life as an assistant to this bad guy, but also she finds him really hot. #relatable. I have A Shot in the Dark by Victoria Lee. This is a romance. So this is about a girl who has a one-night stand before starting college, and the next day she realizes her teacher is that one-night stand. Her teacher is a transgender man with a secret past. He's reclusive, and how they navigate this relationship. I've heard nothing but good things about this. So these 4 books I got in Denver with my friends at a used bookstore, at the used bookstore, Tattered Cover. I got The Four Treasures of the Sky by Jenny Tingu Zan. This is about a woman who is kidnapped and smuggled across the ocean from China to America, and how she makes her way. It says, from a calligraphy school to a San Francisco brothel to a shop tucked in the Idaho mountains, we follow Dayu on a desperate quest to outrun the tragedy that chases her. I have Mercury Pictures Presents by Anthony Mara. This is a classic World War II Hollywood story about a courageous woman outrunning her past, moving from Italy to LA and back. This is just general literary fiction, as is this one. I got a collection of short stories by Kelly Barnhill called Dreadful Young Ladies. I actually haven't read anything else. I haven't read anything by Kelly Barnhill, but I saw these short stories, and this is one of her older collections, so I picked it up when I could. I have Bad Gays. This is nonfiction, A Homosexual History by Hugh Lemmy and Ben Miller. And I've seen this going around. It sounds really interesting about the history of homosexuality. And it says, from the Emperor Hadrian to notorious gangster Ronnie Cray, Bad Gays excavates the buried history of queer lives and challenges the mainstream assumptions of sexual identity. I've got Kissing Kosher by Jean Meltzer. This is a Jewish romance. I read one of Jean Meltzer's books last season, and it was really great, a really funny, perfect rom-com. We have a character with chronic pain helping manage her family's kosher bakery, and we have a man named Ethan who is working there undercover. So basically we have these two characters with like feuding families and their bakeries and their like babka recipe, and it's a romance. So I have Foxglove by Adeline Grace. This is the sequel to Belladonna. This involves a girl who can see death as incarnate. She has been bounced from home to home to home because her caretakers always die because she was heir to this huge fortune. In the previous book, there was a murder mystery, gothic romance, and now in this book, she is finally eligible to, I think, take her fortune back, move into her house, her family house called Foxglove. Does this have another murder? I don't know. I have Teach the Torches to Burn by Caleb Roig. This is a Romeo and Juliet remix. It is male. It's part of that remixed classics series that I really want to read more of because the Great Gatsby remix was chef's kiss. I picked up The Brilliance of Stars by Janelle Sizalewski. It says it's a Jack and Ivy novel. This involves spies, World War I. They're kind of like elite spies, but also in a relationship. It says it has a blend of thrilling adventure, glamorous espionage, and sweeping romance. And it's the first in a duology, so if I like it, I can buy the second one. I have The Deja Glitch by Holly James. This is a time loop story. I love a time loop story. So our main character, Gemma, is trying to make a name for herself in LA music as a radio producer. So she and this man that she is working with have been living this time loop for months and months. He knows it, she doesn't. And what happens when they figure it out? Like, how do they figure it out? I don't know. I have How to Kill Men and Get Away with It by Katie Brent. I believe this is kind of a cozy mystery, murder mystery. Our main character, Kitty Collins, accidentally kills a man or kills him in self-defense, and then she gets kind of obsessed with killing it. So serial killer. I have In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. This is a nonfiction memoir about Carmen Maria Machado and her previous relationship, which was abusive, toxic, and how that has affected her. I bought Thick and Other Essays by Tressie McMillan Cottom. This is a series of essays interrogating pop culture, the word thick. It says, Thick is igniting a bolder conversation on politics and pop culture alike through the lens of modern Black feminism. It is an M. Tressie McMillan Cottom, award-winning professor and co-host of Here to Slay, named a Best New Podcast of 2019 by Marie Claire, is one of the most bracing thinkers on race, gender, and capitalism of our time. When I was in the bookstore, as you can see, it was a buy one, get one 50% off. I read, I don't know, first 15 pages there in the bookstore and was like, yeah, I'm buying this. I have Kaikeyi by Vaishnavi Patel. This is a retelling of the myth of Kaikeyi, who is daughter of a king, and she transforms herself from an overlooked princess into a warrior, diplomat, and favored queen. It is in the vein of, it's been compared a lot to Circe and Madeline Miller's writing, so I'm excited to read about some other mythological history. And finally, we have made it to the last book of this haul. It's been a long one, and that is Magic Lies and Deadly Pies by Misha Pop. This is a cozy mystery about, well, it's kind of a twist on the cozy mystery because this woman bakes pies, and the pies kind of give you what you need. And one day she bakes a pie and it kills a man. She has to cover her tracks, but also kind of follow the investigation to make sure they don't think she did it. She didn't do it on purpose. It just kind of happens because the pies, do what they want. What a time. I am literally leaning on the stacks of books. They are that tall. I have a lot of reading to do. The books that I unhauled last week, not nearly enough because I am unstoppable. Let me know if you've read any of these already, if they should be bumped to the top of my list. They all sound so good. That's why I bought them. And yeah, thank you for watching. If you liked this video, you could click that like button. If you want to subscribe, you could do that. But really, you can do whatever you want. And I'll see you next time.